All right, we are live.
We are live on Friday the 13th, I just noticed.
That's good luck for me.
Yes, it is. You were born on a Friday the 13th.
Yes, I was.
It explains so much.
But not in summer or spring like this.
No. It was the best time for Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Maybe October 13th would be a little better than November 13th.
Maybe, but November worked
But
great
you're
for me.
right in the pocket.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. So, and I think I've had good luck today.
Yeah. By the way, just what you all want to hear.
We're letting them, people file in.
Yes, we're letting people file in. The golf cart looks like it has never looked since it was new.
Yeah, I pressure washed it today.
Wow.
Simpson is here. Good to see you.
Good evening, Simpson.
I just got off of a video chat with my nephew in Colorado, and he's having a wedding ceremony this summer, and we're going to go out to see him.
Yes,
it's very exciting. But I've got to get my mind on Carnivore.
On Carnivore again, yes.
Lisa, good evening. Good to see you.
Hello, Marla. Good to see you as well. Excellent. They're filing in.
Yeah.
They're coming along. So I think with that, I will wish you all a warm welcome. I'm JJ. I am a life coach, and I do mostly meat.
And I am Eric, and I'm a novelist, and I do eat mostly meat too.
Oh,
I eat it indeed.
Quite. And we know most of you who are here eat mostly meat as well. So go ahead and pop in the chat how long you have been.
What is with you?
How long have you been eating a mostly meat diet? I actually haven't talked much today. I think that might be the issue.
Obviously, feel free to share this live stream far and wide with your friends who may be carnivore curious. Post a link to Facebook, X. Can you do that with TikTok? I don't think that's how TikTok works. And let everybody know.
You have our permission. But we are not doctors. We are just we're just a couple of Gen Xers who lived our life on Nestle's Quick and Pop-Tarts and lived to tell the tale because we switched.
We eventually switched to Carnivore in October of 2022. And here we are all these days later, over 950 days.
Yes.
Carnivore.
Yes.
Well, for her, I might have had a fewer.
But we did a road trip this week going up to pick up our daughter from college. And you might be saying, why is she getting home so late? Most college students have been home a month. She's on a trimester system. So
she has a very long break from Thanksgiving.
Yes, she gets a very long
through the year
holiday break. So yeah, it's laid out a little differently. But speaking of differently, our road trip was done a little bit differently because most of the time in the past, on the way up, we have stopped for me to get a cold brew from my favorite Quick Trip, right?
Yep.
Which again, lots of carnivores have coffee, and I'm kind of off of the coffee. I have a little bit every now and then, but cold brew's way too much for me at this point. So my plant intake seems to, at the moment, be continuously down. And we often also would get a diet soda on the road trip.
Yeah.
Not something we did regularly, but, a little bit of road trip travel type thing, get a little treat. And we just said, no, we do not want to do that to ourselves. So no shade if you're drinking Diet Coke or diet soda of any type. We've been there. We've done it. And we may do it again. But right now.
So another tradition on that very trip is we ask our daughter, where would you like to eat lunch on the way home?
Mm-hmm.
And invariably she picks the Olive Garden.
Yes, she does.
But instead of eating any of the pasta, I had the steak, the sirloin.
Yes.
It was not the best, nor was it the biggest.
No, even our daughter who is the daughter of carnivores, was like, that's a really small steak. She's used to our other portions, our normal portions.
So I have titled this live, Can Carnivore Heal My Chronic Condition? Yes. The end. So we'll see you next week. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it might be helpful because many of you in the chat have used Carnivore for healing. So as we mention some of these, if it relates to you or you've had relief, maybe not 100%, but maybe significant relief, make sure to pipe up in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
But let's catch up with the chat real quick.
Yeah.
Hello, Sue Smoky Bear Lover. Lisa's here. And with a date of 3/24/23, presumably when you started Carnivore.
Nice. That's a recent anniversary.
Jody is here.
Hey, Jody.
Simpson's been Carnivore for a bit over 2 years.
Nice.
Sue has been Carnivore base January 2024 with a lot of stumbles. Yeah, I've had more stumbles than JJ, but I've done pretty well.
Once you saw how great I was doing, you pretty much got on the wagon. It was a few months after me, but
Simpson remembers Nestle Quick.
Oh, you remember scoop way over what was recommended? Oh yes. And I would like to have a little bit of the sludge in the bottom for those last few little dig it out with the spoon. Yeah. Well, I didn't like white milk was what I called it. And so I had to get my calcium some way. So Nestle's Quick it was.
And the sludge was the best.
Yeah.
And Michelle is here.
Hey, Michelle.
Welcome, everybody.
Mhm.
So the first chronic condition that occurred to me when I was conceiving of this segment was type 2 diabetes.
Mhm.
It's not one that I had, but it was one I was headed toward.
Yes.
And for how long have people who've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes been told by their doctor, this is what you have for the rest of your life? Never did they say you could reverse this by changing your diet. Instead, we will try to maintain it by chronically by lowering your blood sugar with some medicines, and maybe you're going to have to add some insulin injections along the way. And oh, by the way, as long as you continue with this will increase your risk for basically every other malady that's out there.
Yeah.
And yet we have all of the good doctors have talked about having patients reverse their type 2 diabetes with Carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, presumably it could be done with keto.
Yes.
Depending on your A1C and weight and how you respond to it. And this is one of those ones that's mentioned all of the time. And yet whenever I stop to think about it, it absolutely blows my mind that someone who has type 2 diabetes can change their diet and end up off of their metformin and their insulin if they do it long enough, for the most part. I'm sure there's exceptions. The difference between one track of life and the other is how can you even measure the difference?
Yeah.
And just in the reduction of risk of other things.
Yes.
Well, not to mention just the quality of life. Next one for me was a huge quality of life improvement.
And it was for me because it was for him.
Yeah. Was acid reflux.
Yeah.
And this is something that I started experiencing in my 20s. And I remember very well where I was the first time it happened. I think I was probably 17.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say
17,
I think
18.
it was younger.
I was in my car and I burped and I had this hot acid thing happened. And I was like, oh, what is causing that? And over time, I realized that if I ate an entire box of Pop-Tarts in one sitting, that phenomenon would happen, and I didn't like it. So I tried to cut back to only 2/3 of a box with a half a gallon of milk. But that started young. And then as life went on and my eating continued to be terrible, it became a more frequent thing. On Carnivore, I directly experienced complete remission of acid reflux.
Mhm.
And I know that Dr. Barry talked about being on Prevacid or something for forever. And he had fairly rapid remission of acid reflux. And acid reflux, while it is annoying and you can avert it with Pepcid or things like that, or you can take Tums or Pepto-Bismol to kind of ease it, you do not want that acid in the esophagus over and over and over and over, because it can do long-term damage and lead to issues like esophageal cancer. So it's not something you want to continue. How about brain fog, JJ?
He says he gives that one to me because I was in brain fog for most of my 30s. I managed to have less brain fog. Life was less bad when I gave up gluten and added a whole bunch of supplements. But for me, brain fog was really contributed to a lower quality of life, very much so. I sort of had a triad, which I think we'll be talking about in a moment. But so for me, eating carnivore has been life-changing in that I feel like I have mental clarity in a way, consistent mental clarity. There's still a day when I'm off, maybe I don't sleep well or something, but overall, my mental clarity is fantastic. And so I feel like I have had that reversed where it's no longer a typical day for me.
I'll admit that I was a brain fog skeptic. Not that carnivore would erase it, but that it existed at all.
Yeah.
Because up to a certain point in my life, I'd never experienced it. So I couldn't relate to what it was. To me, it just sounded like an excuse to be flaky. And it's like, I've got brain fog. But, it's hard to model in your body something you haven't experienced.
Yeah.
But then, you may recall I've gone through some severe insomnia.
Yes.
And I went through a stretch of insomnia that was so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned what brain fog was. I also had what I called weights on my face.
Yes.
That made me feel like that I look like this.
Yes.
All day, every day for weeks on end. And one night I was falling asleep at a normal hour. This is a great thumbnail picture.
It is.
And JJ goes to turn off the bedside light and she hits the lampshade in some way that makes a loud noise. And it startles me so badly. And it was my one chance to get a good night's sleep because I was there. I was just under the surface. And that accidental bump woke me up. And I just remember going, I can't do it. I did eventually get out of it. I don't know how I did it, but that was when I learned about brain fog. And it's a horrible state it's just your effectiveness in life is so low.
And I feel like you likely have low energy as well. If you have brain fog, that's likely also part of it. And then it takes so much energy when you do have to focus on something. And it doesn't even have to be a huge task. It could be like focusing on cooking dinner. Takes so much brain power. It's really challenging. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Well, this one's too general. I understand that people have had much relief of arthritis. And I can say that the achy joints that I have are almost always traceable to an injury or some bout of recent exercise or exertion. but certain pains that I've had in knees in the past. And then you remember when I had that summer where my hands hurt all the time,
All the time.
constantly?
Yeah.
That is way, way less
Mm-hmm.
since going carnivore.
Yes, I have an old ankle injury. Again, is it arthritis at this point? I don't know.
But it doesn't bother.
But it doesn't really bother me anymore, just very occasionally. And often when it does bother me, it's related to perhaps having toxic salads or something.
Yeah, that would make sense. Let's combine psoriasis and eczema. We interviewed Tita.
Yes, Tita.
And was it
Tia?
Tia.
Wait, no, Tita.
No, I was right.
You were right. Yeah.
Was it eczema? I can't remember. I get them confused.
Yes.
But yeah, I think at the time it was like maybe a 95% remission. In a pretty drastic case.
Yeah.
Carnivore. Yep.
And
Darth is confirming.
Yes,
confirming Tita.
And she had tried everything and even gone into sort of a functional medical coaching, becoming a functional coach, trying to cure herself. And it was meat.
Yeah. And there's countless comments on YouTube videos about people
now
having these things vanish.
I have not had that. And I'm very fortunate. I'm glad I did not. I did have some, trying to get my shirt off. I did have very sensitive skin. So I'd get patches of like rashiness on my face. I don't know exactly what that would be, but a very sensitive skin and redness, like almost a rosacea light. And that is much, much better. Actually, pretty much gone. I'm still a little ruddy just by complexion, but it's the rosacea and the rash is gone on carnivore.
It really seems like skin responds well to carnivore
Yeah.
for some reason. And maybe it's because they're also getting a lot of collagen.
Yeah.
And I don't know. But there's toxins in foods that will show up on skin because we have this one right here.
Yes.
That acne. It's not something I deal with.
No. But both Bella and Carrie's daughter, Emma.
Right.
Yes. Have both reported reversals of pretty severe cystic acne. And so they saw a big turnaround in that as well.
Which is incredible. If I'd known about it when I was a teenager, I still wouldn't have done carnivore because I would have been too stubborn. I was completely addicted to sugar.
Yes.
But it presumably would have worked. I guess we can combine these two. IBS. This is one that's mentioned almost in every one of our videos when we talk about our progress.
Yes. Now I didn't have IBS issues, but you did, and it was you would be suffering every day with it. It seemed. So again, it sort of impacted the whole family.
Yeah, it was miserable and it's gone. And I've seen Dr. Baker tends to post about that on X fairly frequently. And I think it's because it's one of the really reliable improvements on carnivore. Because, previous to carnivore, all of the things I attempted that failed all seemed well reasoned. It's like I did a food sensitivity test and it said, don't eat any other fruit, especially pineapple. And you can eat avocado. And kale should be fine. And it wasn't fine. It didn't work. It was terrible. So I started to kind of think, I'm like, it's one of those things that once you have it, like type 2 diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
And all of these things that we're trying to do to alleviate it, they're just Hail Mary passes to try to, maybe there's one food that's causing it. And it wasn't. It was all of the food that I was eating was causing it.
Yeah.
Crohn's disease is another one. Is this one Nick Norowitz was dealing with, and that he reverted with keto.
I think so.
I think it was because I
Yeah.
think he was in the hospital with it.
Yes.
And so he uses keto basically to keep it from happening.
Yeah.
Which is what led him then down this whole path in research with the LMHRs.
Yeah, because he's kind of, well, I was going to say between a rock and a hard place, but I mean, who knows if it's the hard place? That's what's being studied right now. But he feels like he can't change his diet because he'll have issues with that. So he's stuck.
So we know from Dr. Elizabeth Bright that it can be extraordinarily beneficial for hormone regulation.
Oh my gosh. I wish I had known about this earlier because this has been my whole struggle starting in my teens as hormones kick in. I started having insomnia when I was 15 years old, and it was directly related to hormones and just had so many issues, but not the normal, like, oh, you've got polycystic ovary syndrome, or like, it wasn't any the typical, you have female hormone issues. It was the whole system that was off. The adrenals, the thyroid, everything was off and made me just feel like crud. I couldn't, and it started with not sleeping. That was the start of it all. I could not sleep because of cortisol, and things just proceeded to get worse and worse until my late 20s. I started having, fibroids. I started having fibroids, and I had miscarriage, and I had fibrocystic breasts, and was able to give birth to a daughter. So that was nice. And then I just never recovered. It's like I gave everything to that pregnancy, and then that was tap out.
Yeah.
that was it.
Did you just watch the panel of the good doctors, Barry, Baker, Chafee, Kiltz?
I did watch that
was on Barry's
morning.
channel.
Yeah.
Didn't Kiltz say that he's seen reduction in fibroids when people go carnivore?
He did say that. Yeah. Yeah. I believe it because actually, so what was also going on when I got the fibroids was that soy became extremely popular, and soy protein became extremely popular as a healthy way to meet your protein requirements. I did not like meat at the time at all. So I was drinking a lot of soy protein. And I think that was directly, I mean, again, I was already having hormonal issues, but I honestly think it was that soy that just gave me the boost to really start growing those growths. And I really did avoid soy after that. It wasn't a complete elimination, but I avoided it.
So I listened to Ferrigno Freedom this afternoon, and he was on with Coach Lisa.
Yes.
Going through his blood labs, and his testosterone went from, and he's told this story before, that he thinks it was like in the 300s. He went on testosterone supplementation, and then he went carnivore, and then a year later he went off of it, and then 6 months later it was back to where it was before he started it, and then 6 months later it was up again. And in this test, his total testosterone was over 700.
And he's in his 50s, isn't he?
He said he was 52.
Oh, wow.
And but his doctor was like, after being on TRT, he didn't expect it to come back. He's like, it will come back, but not even to the level before you started. And here it is. I mean, it's a testament to what carnivore can do for hormones. And he's lion diet right now, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And animal fat is such an important part of the hormonal system, the whole process of hormone creation. And that is one thing I'm going to dare bring up this topic just in passing. Here we go, in passing, drive by. That is one of the concerns with long-term sugar diet, is that there are no fats being consumed. And fats are so vital for not only for our hormone health and our brain health.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, that same panel they talked about the sugar diet, and all 4 of them are like, yeah, no. I guess all of these are sort of, well, not quite, but we could just just do this one.
Okay.
Is carnivore good for improving, healing mental health? And I will say, yes, in my experience, my direct experience, it has been beneficial.
Now, you have not had a complete remission of all anxiety, though.
No, I have not.
No.
But it is nothing like it was before carnivore and before my use of an SSRI for a while. But there are, I just feel like the healing takes the time it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I used to suffer from periods of some mild depression and low energy, and just sort of I felt so crummy, because that was my triad, was brain fog, low energy, mild depression, that I was like, my attitude was, why bother? Like, why am I was not suicidal. I didn't have those issues, but I was like, what am I even doing here on this planet? This life, why am I here? Why bother? So, and I will say again, I've worked on my diet and supplementation, so I was able to eventually dig out of that. But it was always sort of, if I didn't manage myself correctly, I call it the cliff. And since I've been carnivore, the cliff is nowhere in sight. I don't feel like I have to be so incredibly careful managing every aspect of my stress and my energy and my recovery, because I'm going to fall off the cliff into low energy, brain fog, and depression. So yeah, I've experienced great mood, great energy, and just a love of life. A joie de vivre, one might say.
It's getting all that fat in your diet.
Yes.
That you need. Well, let's talk about excess body fat. I think we know the answer to this.
Yes. One. Now, Dr. Kiltz, of course, says that obesity isn't a disease. He says that.
Yeah, I've heard him say that.
Yeah. So, but it can, especially when you're extremely overweight. Hello, Charlie. It affects your quality of life as well. It affects your quality of life. So I know for me, I've lost 30 pounds on the carnivore diet, and I think that also contributes to less joint pain for me, and just the ability to get around more and do more.
Yeah.
And I was not severely overweight.
Yeah, I'm down 36 pounds from my heaviest, and it just stays level. It requires no thinking, no effort at all. And I just stay here, which was around my goal weight. I'm about 170. Some days I'm 171. Some days I'm 168. But I just kind of very low variability. And in the past, that was my goal, to get to 170.
Yeah.
And I would get close, and then I might dip and hit it for a day or two. Yeah. And then I was headed the other direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've said this before, but it bears repeating. You used to look a little sickly and scrawny at 170, right around that weight. Around 172, you'd start to look a little haggard.
That's because I'd be losing all my muscle mass to get there.
That's not the case anymore.
Not all of it.
No, but it was not great.
Can carnivore heal my heart disease? This is one that I think is a little bit controversial, because I don't know that it necessarily can always. Can it stall the progression? That seems like it's possible, but I think that there's more study needed. But we've definitely had great testimonial. For instance, I think we talked about last week of Carrie's video about his heart update, where he fed all of his reports into AI, and it's like, yeah, you've reversed heart failure.
Yeah.
So there certain elements of heart disease that definitely can apparently improve dramatically. But whether or not the buildup of plaques in coronary arteries can be slowed down, it seems very possible.
Mhm.
And whether they can be reversed, there's cases reported of it happening. But can you bank on it? I don't know. But I think it's what are your options? That's what I discussed. That's what I discussed directly with Dr. Ovadia. And he's like, what we can do right now is we monitor through imaging to see the progression. And so we give you a protocol, Carnivore, and maybe some supplements, and you do it, and then we measure the progression. And if plaque is increasing, you're not doing something right. And then we have to think about it. We have to then think about other tools. But it doesn't start with a statin or something because he doesn't really believe in LDL. So this is one that is of great interest to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm putting my chips on Carnivore. And I'm not going to just let it ride permanently because I'm going to have imaging done periodically to see if I get progression.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting reports the live stream stalled. We are still here.
Unlike 2 weeks ago when the live stream went kaput.
Mm-hmm. Give us some
let us know if you can hear us, and if you can't hear us.
Yep, Curtis can see us.
I was going to say, if you can't hear us, then you're not going to respond.
Screen black, Jody says. Not for us. And Curtis is seeing us. Anybody else?
Okay.
It looks like
yep, good idea.
Yep, good idea, Jody.
Yep. Sounds good. We will be here.
So of all the things we've mentioned so far, have you had any of those benefits? Have you had reversal of type 2 diabetes or just metabolic syndrome? IBS, all of the autoimmune issues, arthritis, psoriasis, eczema, Crohn's disease, acne, hormones, brain fog, low mood, low energy, mental health improvements, excess body fat reduction. Well, we know many of you have had that. Improvements in your heart health.
Mm-hmm.
We want to hear about that.
Yes, we do. And I have to think, Dr. Ovadia, when we were at Meat Stock, did say, don't eat carnivore and bury your head in the sand. And he was, of course, talking about heart disease.
Yeah.
Right? Get the imaging done. So I don't think that carnivore is a panacea for everything. Yet I really do believe it is a meat-based diet is the proper human diet. There's a spectrum. And like Dr. Berry says, and if it's good for our brain, if it's good for our hormones, if it's good for our joints, if it's good for our skin, it seems very unlikely that it would be bad for one system in our body. So, yeah. Now, again, we might have already done a lot of damage in our decades of Quick and Pop-Tarts. So, again, it's not magic, but I just feel like it, like you said, what are the other options? Because this seems to be working the best for most of the systems, and I do believe all of the systems in the body.
Keisha's here. Hello.
Hey, Keisha.
So Simpson says, my parents argued with me when I recommended that Dad go low carb, even when parts of his body was being cut off due to diabetes. The reason? The doc said go only low fat.
Yeah. That's tough.
That's why we need the American Diabetes Society that Dr. Berry is heading up.
Yeah.
Lydia is asking, are you going to the Montello meetup in July?
If you are here, Lydia, and you happen to know the date, or anyone else, if you happen to know the date, could you shoot it in the comments? Because, you're going to look it up, aren't you?
I'm not.
Oh.
I'm going to get the calendar up because we have a wedding in July.
Yes.
That's
and so that would be, we'd be able
Yeah.
to say absolutely not if it falls on the wedding time.
but otherwise we're open to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand Dr. Kiltz is going to be there.
Yes, he is.
Natalie's here. Good
Hey,
to see you, Natalie.
Darth Carnivore, Charlie says brain fog no longer in my mental forecast since going carnivore. Yes, yes.
Curtis is here from Michigan.
Hello, Curtis. I hope you're recovering well. You're at home now, correct?
Yeah, I think that's what he said last week.
Yeah.
Simpson said, that's a bit scary, Eric. I think she's referring to my tired face.
Which that's exactly, Charlie says it made him think of the Scream painting. And that's exactly what I was thinking as well.
That's what I wanted to do, was just like, Jody says, I'm reading Brain Energy right now. Mental illness, metabolic related diet.
Yes.
Well, that's one of the two duos that we mention constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Change your diet, change your mind, and Brain Energy. Highly reputable psychiatrists who are using metabolic therapies for mental health.
As I've mentioned, I'm a life coach, and I just feel like if I could start people on, again, some spectrum of the proper human diet, their mental frame of mind, that's kind of a, what is that? Redundant, kind of redundant, mental frame of mind. They would be at such a better starting point to try to work on any mindset issues or anything that comes up like that. And I don't know why my watch is going off. It's just a great starting point. So I feel like that for everything in life. If you can get your mental game on, any challenge you have or other health issue you're working on, it makes it easier to work on it if you're mentally clear.
Yes.
And feel good. I feel like that's the basis of everything.
Brain Energy is a great read, Charlie says. Still blows my mind that mitochondria is more than just a powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
The skin cells have faster turnover, Simpson says, so skin issues tend to show healing early. You know what also has fast turnover?
What?
Is the tongue.
Oh, geez.
Because I nearly bit mine off last week. I think we mentioned it last week, and it's totally healed. It was like totally healed within 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I started carnivore to lose weight, but my depression, suicidal ideologies, and agoraphobia all went away. I still have some anxiety, but compared to pre-carnivore, I'm golden now. That's exactly it.
Beautiful, Simpson. Beautiful. Yep. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I don't think that I wasn't ever to suicidal. Mm-hmm. I understand people who are suicidal.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of in the antechamber leading toward that, but I never got that far. Alan's here. Today was a 3-steak day, but no side salad because it is toxic.
Yes, it is. 3-steak day. You're still on your 2-steak a day.
Yeah, kick. but I feel like I might be in a mild deficit on that because I'm hungry right now.
That's true. You have been hungry after dinner.
Yeah. Well, yesterday I did a sprinting session.
Oh yeah.
And that I film it because I'm collecting it as B-roll in case I ever do a sprinting video for the channel. And so I watched back my last sprinting session and I did 3 reps and they were probably 25, 30 yards. So not even very far. And I do a jog up to the starting cone and then I go all out. And I play it back and I look at it and I'm like, when am I going to sprint? because I'm chugging along and I look like I'm breathing hard, but I am not going fast. But man, am I hungry. And it's just, I mean, I don't know how long each sprint is. Maybe it's 5-8 seconds or something, 3 times. And of course, there's warm ups and some light jogs before that and all that. How does that make me so hungry to want like a second or third steak at dinner time? And it just does. I think it's that it just does the whole central nervous thing. It gets all of those cells and mitochondria hungry. Experimenting with pemmican. I love the fat. It's easy to make. That is not something we have tried to make yet.
No, but we've talked about the carnivore bar before. And I like the carnivore bar. Eric was not as big of a fan as I am. And I've said that since we've been getting warmer, I've been eating more carnivore bars. They're really easy. Maybe I've been working out in the yard. I don't have time to cook, or I just want a light little snack. So I've been eating them more. I even splurged and got the 24 pack.
That is a splurge.
That is, yeah. But you do get a bigger discount. And I was like, I'm going to eat these over the summer, right? Well, someone has decided that he also now likes the carnivore bar.
And I've had, one since that time?
No, you had, yeah, you've had 2.
I've had 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm glad I got the 24 pack, but yeah, no, it was an interesting change up, because when we were at the meat stock, someone in the audience, I think it might have been Courtney Luna actually, said, hey, if you've tried the carnivore bar here, because they were one of the vendors, and you were like, it was fine, just try it again someday, because that's how I was. I used to be like, it's fine, and now I love it.
But everything you're telling me right now makes me think that we should learn how to make it.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Alan.
Like Alan's done.
Yeah.
However, that's not in our best interest, because we want you to buy it and use code JJ and Eric for 10% off at thecarnivorebar.com. So there's the end of the commercial, but that wasn't actually intended to be a commercial.
No, it actually wasn't. It was just, it's interesting how it tastes. Who are we talking to about this?
I don't know.
Maybe we were talking to ourselves.
It could be. We recorded an entire Jen and Carrie in the car type episode on the way to get our daughter. And the audio was so bad it was unusable.
Yeah.
So we might have said all of these things to ourselves.
Yeah.
But I will say that the reason that I liked it was we were in the middle of a really, really hard project where I had exerted a lot of energy and I needed some refueling. And so in that context, I was starving and it did taste good.
It tasted dang good.
Let's see. Lots of we dropped out, we didn't drop out. Reversed my carb addiction, bowel problems, gas, lack energy, improved recovery, calm mind. Like Eric, I'm able to control my weight.
Yeah.
All of those are by themselves amazing improvements. And collectively, they are a changed life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are a changed life.
The Montello meetup is July 26th, which sounds good. But
so that's within that's a possibility. We don't have an answer yet, but we will be in the state at that time.
Yeah, that sounds like a strong possibility.
Yeah.
Kurt is home. Yep. Still have a ways to go, but sleeping in my own bed.
Huge.
So you believe that sprinting is better than the steady state cardio? I don't have an opinion about steady state cardio other than I don't like to do it that much. But after following a lot of Dr. Sean O'Mara's videos about sprinting specifically, I really got kind of interested in the idea of it. And physiologically, what happens at that high intensity is just totally different than long steady state, because it's just using so much, it's calling on so much exertion all at once. And it recalled to my mind that when you look at Olympic athletes, some of the ones that absolutely look the fittest are the sprinters. They're muscular, they're lithe, and of course they're fast. Whereas the long distance runners, yeah, they might maybe have some tone to them, but they tend to be, and they don't have quite that same presence. So to me, it just seemed like there's something about sprinting that signals to the body, yeah, we need to add some muscle mass to the legs because they're being used, but it's a more generalized signal that just says to the whole body, we need to put on muscle mass across the whole system. And so I'm interested in using it as an adjunct to my weightlifting.
Interesting.
Natalie says, I do 30-second swim sprints. Does anyone know how many reps are recommended for visceral fat loss? Well, I will leave it to the chat to answer that because I know nothing about swim sprints, but I would guess that, I mean, it's about, I would guess, the all out exertion.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily matters how you do it.
Because I think you could do like spin bike sprints and get a similar effect.
I used to know the answer to what Dr. O'Mara recommended, but I don't have that top of mind right now. I have it top of file cabinet.
Although I did see a podcast with him fairly recently where he said, obviously, if you're totally detrained and you're in your mid-50s like I am, you don't just go from not having sprinted to just doing sprints without, that's a risk of injury. And you might need to progress toward that. Jody says, I put dehydrated beef huckleberries, half teaspoon of honey, and 1 packet of Element salted chocolate.
Interesting.
Is that a drink?
Nope, next one.
Oh, in my carnivore bar that you make. Yeah, that is interesting. That's like a chocolate beef berry bar.
Chocolate beef berry bar.
And of course, beef tallow.
Yes.
Alan Steakman. When I trained for the Boston Marathon, I ate 4 to 5 pounds of ribeye steak each day. Wow. Well, it's like when you hear about the Olympic swimmers, like they eat 10,000 calories. Who's the guy who won every gold medal?
Michael Phelps.
Phelps, yeah. He ate insane amounts of food.
Wow.
So here's the recipe. 1 pound ground beef, 1 cup huckleberries, 4 ounces beef tallow, 2 teaspoons honey.
All right.
Tisps.
It is nearly berry season here.
Yes.
And I could also do 1 pound ground beef, 1 cup wild blackberries.
Yeah. You could leave the honey out.
Yeah. I will be eating some berries. The wild strawberries are already getting ripe. The blackberries look like they have a way to go, although we'll see. They're usually ready by the end of June, and I will have some seasonal wild berries. Although I do know that the raspberries have high oxalates.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, high oxalates. So I'm going to be very judicious in my just a few. But yeah, it's a great pleasure in my life. Oh, dehydrate your berries, says Jody.
So Natalie says, I can't run. I can, however, kick my legs as hard as I can in the water until I feel the burn. That seems like it would work.
Yes.
I don't see why it wouldn't. Simpson, I do hit on my rowing machine, which I consider sprinting. I sink when swimming, so I can't help with swim sprinting. Now, we went to a swim seminar.
Yes, we did.
I could dog paddle, but I didn't really know how to do whatever this one is.
Front crawl.
Yeah. And it was the total immersion system, which was a specific technique. I think I actually learned about it from Tim Ferriss, who had done it.
Oh,
And we did the class. I wasn't that coordinated with it. I could never breathe. I could never do the head turn to breathe. But then at the local gym that had the pool, I would go there and then I would get in and I'd practice my laps. And I really found it calming to do that practice, except for I could never get the breath. Because I would breathe in water and I would then have to stop and cough. So eventually I gave it up because I smelled like chlorine all the time and I didn't like that. But it was only years later that it occurred to me, I couldn't do it because I can't turn my neck very far.
you got to roll.
Yeah,
Remember
I know that's
that?
what they say, but you still have to be able to turn your head to the side. So I don't think that swimming is going to be the one that I do. Adding fresh berries to pemmican would cause spoilage.
Yes, true. I suppose so.
We have a swim spa. I use a full face mask so I don't have to turn my head. That's what I needed, was a snorkel. So you're having issues with ads interrupting you, Jody. We don't control the placement of ads in live streams. That is YouTube's discretion if we turn monetization on, period. So this past Tuesday, we released what I consider one of the best videos we have ever made. Did any of you see it? This
is an important question, actually.
JJ and I clearing a fallen tree off of one of the trails. I know Alan saw it. And JJ cooking a chuck roast, brisket style, on the big green egg. And it was kind of the full day of the whole project. And the theme was, we have the energy to do these things because we're carnivore. And of course, we enjoy the exertion and the project. And having a fallen tree is kind of a symbol of there being rewards in problems. And I loved making the video, even though it was exhausting, editing the video, uploading the video. But what I didn't love was YouTube did not want anyone to see that video.
No.
It is one of our worst performers of all time.
It is a skunk waffle.
Yeah. We've mentioned the skunk waffle video in the past. This one is not quite as bad as that.
No.
That one.
Oh, no. The quality it's a beautiful video.
Well, this one performed slightly better than skunk waffles. So if you haven't seen it, please go give it some love. If you have, thank you so much for watching it. Because it was the clearing of the tree and the splitting of the wood and the hauling of the limbs and all that stuff was hard enough. It is twice the work to film it.
Eric put in a ton of time beforehand, getting all of the cameras and the gear and everything ready, and a shot list, and then so much editing time as well.
So when it came out and I saw that the performance was low, I just sort of like, whatever. I mean, I was disappointed. I changed the thumbnail a few times, but it was too late.
Yeah.
But you sort of have to laugh those things off. Let's see. Natalie watched. Curtis saw the gas chainsaw fail. That was not my favorite.
That was not
moment
in his plans,
but it was one of my favorite moments of the video. Of me bumbling with that nonsense.
But that was not in the plans.
And then
and
then I love JJ's little 2-camera. Why doesn't he just use the Milwaukee?
He's driving to the store.
I saw the reason I didn't want to use the Milwaukee.
Here it comes.
Is that it's electric and it doesn't make a cool sound on video. I wanted the rrr to go because that seemed like tougher and more fun. But in the end, the electric one is actually very lightweight and it cut through that tree so good. So well, I sharpened it because I did have it as a backup. But
so I told my local friends, I told her to watch it, right? Because it was you'd worked so hard on it, and I thought she'd get a kick out of this one. Because guess what? She doesn't actually watch all of our videos.
What?
I know.
What kind of a friend?
But I'm like, this one's 10 minutes. Just watch it. And she liked it. But then I started getting pictures after they saw your dinky little Milwaukee saw. I started getting pictures of her husband that has a chainsaw that is taller than she is. Although it's very hard to handle, he said.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's for very, very large.
But yeah, there I got a picture of her husband with it and her. And
the Milwaukee has a 16-inch bar, maybe 18, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But that Milwaukee used to throw chains all the time.
The Milwaukee did?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I got a different bar for it, and it doesn't do it now.
Oh. Interesting.
So, Lisa says, I so enjoyed that video. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Natalie says, it was a great video. And I commented, yes, you did. Thank you. I watched your video. It was really good. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate it. The reason things succeed or fail on YouTube are a mystery to me.
They are.
I'm trying not to be bothered by it. But just warning you, you may see a new version of that video someday in the future.
That is true.
Because I may re-edit it and repackage it and try a different angle on it, but not soon. So don't worry about it. But would any of you like to see more of that kind of video where we're out and about on the property and then maybe doing a cook and kind of tying it together with Carnivore? If that's of interest, let us know, because if it isn't, it's hard to do. So we don't want to go too far down that path.
Yes. That's why it's important. We wanted to poll you, our most loyal carnivore family.
Yeah. I had talk extemporaneously.
Yeah, I need a topic. I already talked about the big chainsaw.
I clipped a news item, and I need to see if I've got. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
Just wanted to touch on this one. Interesting. I remember what it was. Okay. In the failed video that we recorded on the way up to Appleton.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about how we're seeing the proteinization in marketing of food items now.
Yes.
And then this pops up in my news feed. Starbucks just developed an ingenious way to add 15 grams of protein to almost any drink. And it's this cold foam that they're going to infuse with some sort of protein. Now, the article doesn't say what that protein is. One surmises it isn't some sort of beef powder.
Could be whey. Maybe.
It could be whey.
Maybe.
But yeah, so you'll be able to get 15 grams of protein in your 2,000 calorie frappuccino.
Now, in my carnivore life here, so in the last 2.5 years, you know how you would do the Starbucks run on Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Yeah.
Right? And it wasn't this year. I got black cold brew, but like the year before, I think I got the cold brew with a foam, I believe. Because it was a holiday. So I got the vanilla foam or something. And it was so intensely sweet. Again, I knew there were some carbs in it. I was okay with it. It was a holiday and it was awful. It tasted so fake and so sweet. Yeah. I was like, this is just disgusting. So I'm just wondering if this protein foam, I mean,
sounds so appetizing.
I do wonder how sweet it might be also, and how fake it might taste.
Well,
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Certainly be sweet.
But I'm not against protein by any means, I guess.
But we will see more of the proteinification of foods because it's a thing now.
Which I think it's a good move to start looking at how much protein is something instead of looking at how little fat is in something. Because everything was always low fat, and now it seems to be being replaced.
Yeah. But a ton of sugar in it is a disqualifying.
But that is the issue. That is the issue.
Egads. That sounds like something my husband would say. I likes the vroom also. No, he likes the vroom. I could care less. There was a song. We like the cars that go boom. Do you remember that song?
Vaguely.
Oh, can't remember much more about it. It was a silly song. What's your thoughts on ivermectin? I have no thoughts on ivermectin.
I don't know enough about anything either way.
I never had cause to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I just listened to Rogan and some doctor he had on, who I guess is famous for prescribing this during the Troubles. And I left having heard that conversation going, I don't have any opinion about it. Lisa says, yes, I would love to see you two working your property. Well, we will not become a homestead channel, I guarantee you.
No.
Because the types of work we have to do are very not homesteady. Just eat meat.
Yes.
And maybe they should put a little steak on top of their Starbucks drinks instead of protein foam.
That reminds me of those. We just went somewhere. We were just at some restaurant or something that had the Bloody Mary with the little sliders on it or something. Like it was a whole meal on the little steak.
Yeah.
Or, the stick steak. Yeah.
Whey would be detrimental to those who are lactose intolerant.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll be pea protein. I'm good since I hate coffee anyway. Carnivore says the chainsaw video was great. Very Christopher Guest. I think that's his name. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's it. That's all I've got.
That's all you've got? I think that's about all I have as well. Yeah. So
we did it.
We did it.
Thank you guys for joining us again. Sorry about the inconveniences if there was a technical issue that glitched us out.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your support and watching our very lightly watched recent video.
We so appreciate it.
We really do. We will be back on Tuesday with some pre-recorded video, and then back here Friday, 5:30 Central for JJ and Eric Carnivore live stream. I'd like to just end with this. Every day stronger.
Every day more blessed.
JJ and Eric, their lipids are high. Their doctors are worried they're both gonna die. Is LDL harmless? They sure hope it's so. It's the JJ and Eric Carnivore Show. Salad is toxic, seed oils are doom. They rub on tallow like greasy perfume. Ribeyes and bacon, that's all they know. It's the JJ and Eric Carnivore Show. No wheat, no kale, they're laughing at greens. 18-hour fasts are their favorite routines. Sugars for suckers, they're chomping on fat. Streaming to you live from a tallow vat. Eric's got muscles, JJ's got zen. They're coming to chat with their carnivore friends. So toss out the lettuce, embrace the beef glow. It's the JJ and